really the result of these things is an acoustic point source with neutral response and low distortion. Nate talked about the distortion levels. And at a price point, there's really, there's not much as far as three-ways out there, let alone coincident monitoring solutions. We've been able to really value optimize our systems. That's kind of our thing. That's really where we add value, is in value optimization. So a bit about idle noise. So the IN8 launched in 2019 with the best available amplifier solution at the time. In order to bring Lone Pine to market, we did it with the platforms that were available. But with as much value as we can engineer into the products, the one consistent observation has been idle noise. And, of course, if somebody's monitoring on a console at 2 meters, it's not a problem. But if they're in a choir room, and by the way, also for home audio use, if you're listening at 2 meters or more, you're not going to hear it. But a lot of our customers listen at very close distances, arm length monitoring on a desk, in a desk workstation. And it can be a distraction in those cases. It's not necessarily going to cause them to make mistakes as far as their decisions, but it's just a distraction. It makes it less. It makes it less pleasant. It makes it more distracting to get their job done. And so
I can actually speak on that too. That's something that really bothers me is hiss, because I have this new M1 Mac Mini. The fan barely turns on, so I like that. And a lot of the stuff, you're trying to make it quiet, and if the speaker's making some kind of sound when no sound is playing, it's just one of those things like, I don't want to hear that. And so I'm happy that these are much, much lower.
Yeah, there's that. Again, being focused at people that are making decisions with what we're hearing, we brought out the best products we could at the time, but we have been working on getting that improved, as you've noticed. So what did we do? Well, the first point and the first thing to do when you're doing this is to understand the problem. So what we did is we developed our own tools for our own tools and our own templates for solving the issue. The top figure on the right is an Excel spreadsheet. It's a modular worksheet for understanding noise contribution at every stage of the signal path. It's taking into account gains, resistor values, gain structure, all of these items. And what it allows us to do, first of all, will give us about a plus or minus 3 dB estimate, which is an in the ballpark estimate to optimize our signal path. It allows us to understand where the noise is coming from and what we can do to improve that noise with the greatest value. Okay. Very, very useful. It helps us to understand the signal path and where to invest the money on those components that make the biggest improvement at the greatest value. So the second thing, once we've optimized our signal path, we run detailed SPICE simulations, especially of all the analog circuitry from the input to the ADC, to fully tweak the topology. And that will give us a plus or minus 1 dB prediction, which is exactly what we need to engineer the product to get it to where it needs to be. So as a result, we did two things for the Independence second wave product. We improved the input buffer topology, implementing the right op amps, the right signal path all the way through, like I said, from the input to the ADC, fully optimized. We are now using new amplifier solutions from TI that have a much higher SNR. And the result of these improvements is 12 dB less noise at the same gain. That's a huge improvement.
Wow. Yeah.
And the benefit of that, less distraction from idle noise. In fact, I would say unless you're right up on that loudspeaker, you're not going to hear any hiss. But wait, there's more. Because it's
and you're doing all this at a very affordable price too.
I know.
How?
Well, that's
you guys need to pay yourselves. Charge another $100 per.
Well, wait a second.
Everybody's like, no.
Hold on. You gotta understand what our goal is. Sure, we gotta make a living, okay? But a goal here is to put a better monitoring solution into the hands of musicians, recording engineers, mastering engineers, content creators, so that they can make better music, make better content, they can make better decisions. And in order to do that, you want to get as much product out there as you can. If your product is helping to make better music, well, we want everybody to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why value engineering is so much of a core philosophy for us. It matters to us that as many people as possible can afford to have a good monitoring solution. They can make better music. It's a big deal for us. And as a result, and as a side benefit, people who want to have that just for listening to music are able to have better sound.
Here's an idea. So, for the money making part, you can just make, go all out on a different pair that are like, make them like 10 G's, and then, Chana will pick those up. Throw in the profit margin on a few, and just like, people who want to ball out, they can do it.
Well,
very good. There's the answer.
Without saying things that I ought not to say, let me just say that at every price point, we will continue to value engineer our products, considering ourselves to be stewards of our customers' investment.
Love it.
Okay. So, but wait, there's more. Because of the updated amplifier platform, we've got more EQ, more than double actually. And that means we can make a more neutral monitor. We can further optimize the system response. But not only that, we get better dynamic processing. And that means we can push everything. Of course, we can push everything a little harder. The most important thing to our monitors is that the number one priority for our primary customer is that they have a reliable product. So we can't compromise reliability. But because we have better dynamic processing, we can push the limiter a little bit harder and not sacrifice that reliability. Okay, so we get a little bit more SPL out of our products with the same transducers, with the same power level, simply because they can push it harder. Now, that having been said, those are dynamic peaks. We do not expect our primary customers to be pushing their product into the limiter, okay? Because that's not where you make good decisions for mixing, for mastering. Yeah. But the dynamic peaks, the ability to pass those dynamic peaks allows you to mix at a level with dynamic headroom. And of course, if you did want to mash it into the limiters, you can do it all day long.
You could do that, yeah.
They won't break. We test them. We power test these for 100 hours and beat the daylights out of them, and they don't break. So that's part of that reliability, part of that value that we're adding here.
Very cool.
The voltage sensitivities, because we made the improvements in the noise, and we have 12 dB less noise for the same gain, we can increase that gain a little bit. A lot of people are using audio interfaces that only put out plus 14 dBu or 4 volts, depending on what you want to call it. So in order to get the full output of the loudspeaker, you need a little bit more voltage sensitivity. And so when our speakers now on the second wave products, when the trim knob is at 0 dB, it means you're getting 97 dB SPL for plus 4 dBu at 1 meter. Right? That's 3 dB increase compared to the i8 V1. And we could do that because we have lower idle noise. So at the end of the day, when both speakers are at 0 dB trim, the second wave is still going to have almost 10 dB less noise. Transducers were improved. We removed the diaphragm coatings for a couple of reasons. And the first one's almost negligible. It's a slightly lower mass. That's not our primary consideration. Primary consideration, actually, let me talk about transducer variation.
Yeah.
So when you make any sort of a transducer or motor, you're going to have variation because the mass is never exactly the same. It's within plus or minus, right? The motor strength is never the same. It's plus or minus. The compliance is never the same. It's plus or minus. And in order for our product to be consistent, product to product to product, speaker to speaker to speaker, we need to control those variations. And that's a lot of what we do. It's a lot of what goes on behind the scenes is digging into the details of how the design and the process can reduce those variations so that our product is more consistent. So the diaphragm coatings were removed to reduce that variation, both in mass and in appearance variations that we were dealing with. And the benefit of that is greater consistency. You want the speakers to look the same, you want them to sound the same, and that's what we're driving for.
I like the matte finish.
One of the things you'll find, and I probably mentioned it a time or 500 before, we are unashamedly, proudly advocates of paper transducer diaphragms.
Yeah, me too.
For a couple of reasons. Number one, it's very stiff for the mass. Other options can say that same thing, but paper has an internal damping that reduces the breakups and really the consequences of transducer breakups. Breakups are basically when the diaphragm is no longer acting pistonically and the edges start to flex, and things that are really, really stiff and really, really light that don't have internal damping will have very big peaks from those breakup modes. The paper, because it has that damping, mutes those. The other thing you can do with paper is you can play with the cone geometry to control how the directivity changes at the top end of the transducer. If you shape the cone correctly, you can get normally a diaphragm. If you had a perfectly stiff pistonic diaphragm, as it got higher in frequency, the directivity index would go up to a point where the wavelength equaled the diaphragm diameter, and then the directivity would take this hook and it would just, as the transducer turned into a laser. Paper, that hook can be mitigated by allowing that cone edge to start to flex and decouple. And if you shape it correctly, then you can have a very gentle transition that gives you a better directivity handoff to the tweeter. So for a lot of reasons, we are advocates and unashamed advocates of paper cone mid-ranges and low frequency transducers.
Yeah, I also like it. I think a lot of companies don't like it for marketing purposes because I think people who don't know, they're like, oh, paper, that probably is not good compared to this other one with, I don't know, Kevlar or whatever.
Aluminum or whatever.
That sounds...
Sexy. It's just not sexy. Just like it's paper.
They always make it like treated paper. They try to make it sound a little bit fancier,
No, you're not going to find that from us. It's a paper cone transducers. We're not only are we not trying to hide it, we're really proud of it because you can do a lot with paper. And we will we will tweak the pulp composition. We will look at the parameters, look at there's a lot of science. That's actually an entire presentation for a future date, is the magic of paper.
Okay.
Right?
We'll save that for a daily hi-fi podcast.
I know Joe mentioned Kevlar because he knows I have KRK sitting in front of me. So he's always messing with me.
Well, we're not gonna bag on anything else. We just really we are convinced that we're using the cone material that is giving us the absolute best value and the best performance at any price point. We will continue to do that.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
All right.
I like it.
So, if our goal is providing the best value to our customer, how do we know that we're getting there? How do we know we're getting the best value? And keeping in mind, our primary customer is professionals that are making decisions with what they hear. Their priorities are reliable product, neutral reference monitor, low distortion, low distractions. So the first thing is low return rate, and our product return rate is very, very low. So we know that we're doing that right thing. The customer is getting good product that they like and they don't return. That, by the way, also helps us, but really it means the customer is getting exactly what they expect. They love the product and they're using it. The second thing, comments from customers. For us, and as a studio monitor, it's great. Look, it's great to hear people say, "I love the sound of your product. It sounds so great. The imaging is super. I really, really love this." But the things that really matter to us, the bar that we have to hit is, are people able to get their mixes to translate?
Right.
Are people, when they're making the decisions, are they able to do the job once and have it be good? Here's a couple of customer comments that really mean a whole lot from us. The first is from a mix engineer. They're not asking me for revisions anymore. The second one is a mastering engineer who does a lot of mastering. They're putting through a lot of content that they've got their hands in, and the quote is, I mixed 367 songs across 77 projects this month. I got less than half as many notes as I usually do. And that means to us, the product is performing correctly. It is a neutral reference. The mix is translating. And as a result of that, well, they don't have to redo it.
No.
That's huge.
Yeah. So at this point in time, it's stumped me with any questions.
Yeah, real quick about comments from customers. Somebody made a comment like, "Oh, because you kept saying, and wait, there's more. Like it sounds like an infomercial." And the truth is, really, like when the speakers are good, it's just so easy to recommend. So for us reviewers, we always say when the speaker is good, it's pretty easy. Like the speaker does exactly what it's supposed to do. Whatever comes in comes out properly, and that's it.
Yep.
The end.
It's one thing to say, but wait, there's more. If you act now, you get this 5-piece stainless steel mixing bowl set. But it's another thing to be able to dive into the details and say, no, the product is all that, and here's why. And I'll answer any questions to show exactly what is in this product.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.